Hi, welcome. Who recognizes this situation? You're in a meeting or a brainstorm, and finally you find the courage to blurb out your idea. Great. It's a little out there, but that's fine. That's the beauty of it. And immediately somebody else goes, yeah, but bam, bam, bam. 3 reasons why it could never work. And that is how we innovate today. The sky is the limit, as long as it fits into our current framework. We start from what is and try to innovate that. But it always leads to incremental innovation. And that's just not good enough anymore today. We're not going to change the world by tinkering here and there. We need radical, unreasonable innovation. Whoa, whoa, hold on. Why would we want to change the world? Look at us. Look at all of us here tonight. We're in an amazing place. We got all this knowledge and technology at our disposal. We're healthier, wealthier, and happier than we've ever been in history. So why on earth would we want to change that? It's true, it's true. We've been riding this great wave of progress for quite a long time now, and it has gained us so much. But the wave is at its tipping point. Because in getting where we are today, we created quite a lot of challenges for ourselves, and they are starting to catch up. Just think about how economic growth is slowing down almost everywhere, how income inequality is rising, how automation and robotics are taking over our jobs faster than we can create new ones. And on the health side, the latest WHO data states that more people die of obesity than of underweight these days. And in China, already 17% of all deaths are linked to air pollution. What is happening to our great wave of progress? And it's not only our economy and our health that is taking a hit. Our environment took a really big one too. Think about severe air, water, and soil pollution, deforestation, overall resource depletion, rising water scarcity. There's an ever-growing mountain of waste, just to name a few. In 2050, there will actually be more plastic than fish in the ocean if we keep this up. What are we doing? But where there is challenge, there is opportunity. And that is where the future of work comes in. I strongly believe that the biggest work opportunities of the future lie in solving some of those challenges we've created. If you want your company to stay relevant and reach exponential growth, you might want to shift perspective and think about how you can contribute to a potential solution. But shifting perspective doesn't happen by tinkering with incremental innovation. It happens when we let go of what we know today. It happens when we dare to let go of that old logic. It happens when we embrace the unreasonable. This might be about the time where the rational you kicks in. Oh my God, another talk about innovation. And even if you are inclined to bear with me a little longer, where do we even start on such a massive shift? The challenges are numerous, and I'm not going to keep you here all night, I promise. So let's just look at one a little bit more in detail, the environmental challenge of resource depletion. Over the past 25 years, we have more than doubled our global resource extraction. That means oil, gas, wood, crops, basically everything we take from nature and turn into goods and services. As our population and our global economy keeps growing, so will the demand for those resources. But the supplies aren't infinite. Those of oil, gas, and phosphate, for instance, are estimated to last another 50 years, give or take. That's within my lifetime. That's scary. So if we keep our current course, our environment will become more depleted, and it won't be able to support our current lifestyle anymore. In fact, if we're really honest, it already doesn't support it anymore today. In 2015, we've used 1.5 times the global resources that the Earth can provide in 1 year. That means we are massively borrowing from the future with very little intent to give it back. That much is clear. So how can we shift perspective and see the opportunity of this challenge? I want to share a little story with you. When Dutch architect Thomas Raw needed to fit out his new Amsterdam office with a full lighting system, he called Philips and he told them, listen, I need this many hours of light in a year. If you think you need a lamp or electricity or whatever, that's fine. But I want nothing to do with that. I'm not interested in your product, only the performance. I want to buy light, nothing else. Philips was a little surprised. They didn't really know what to do with this unreasonable request. But they were intrigued, so they accepted the challenge. And together with Thomas Raw, they created a model of circular lighting. Philips would sell the guarantee for sufficient light, but not the lamps themselves. The infrastructure and even the electricity would always stay property of Philips, and it was up to them to define the best way to live up to their guarantee. And if something broke down or it wasn't efficient anymore, they would take it back and be able to reuse all its components and the materials. So by letting go of their old logic and shifting into something new, they were able to create a whole new business model that actually allows them to use a lot less more natural resources than they used to. This is an early example of a circular economy. The circular economy is a movement that is gaining more and more traction. When you think about how we are running out of resources and how we are massively wasting the ones we still have by throwing them in landfills and incinerators, a circular economy model drastically changes that because it mimics nature's circular ecosystem, where everything is designed for maximum efficiency and full recycling, and every tiny little bit of waste becomes a raw material again. But what would that look like? What would a circular economy look like for other companies? Let's look at a company we all know, Apple. Although Apple is still a wildly popular company, they are facing some potential challenges. First of all, when you look at their published financial results, you can see that for the first time since 2007, their sales is going down. Their overall profit has been fluctuating for a few years now. Analysts are saying they are close to reaching peak Apple, or product market saturation. Secondly, 60% of their revenue comes from the iPhone. But the iPhone is under potential threat from VR applications that are seeking to make physical smartphones obsolete. And last but not least, Apple uses a lot of precious metals in their devices, but those metals will become more and more expensive as they are getting harder to mine for. And on the end of their product life cycle, those devices largely contribute to the single fastest growing waste stream, high-value electronic e-waste, or electronic waste. Interesting set of challenges. So what would it look like if Apple would become a circular company? Well, first of all, they wouldn't sell products anymore. They would sell a service. And looking at Apple, I would say they sell superior connectivity. As a customer, I would pay them a monthly fee, for instance, to be connected to all my friends, families, my networks, and use all the online services I need. How I am connected would be up to them to define. Depending on my specific profile, it could be a phone or a watch or both or something completely different, whatever guarantees my superior connectivity. And if we're being truly unreasonable here, then why would we still need traditional telecom providers? Apple could easily cut them out and come straight to us, the consumer, and just pay them a fee, pay the providers a fee for using their network, like Skype does. In any case, I would have my superior connectivity guaranteed, and Apple would have its recurring revenue. So who would still need a yearly new phone with minor updates? It would be in Apple's best interest to make their products last as long as possible and only replace them when they've actually come up with something new, something that really improves my connectivity. Not an incremental innovation to convince me to buy a new device. And if they do come up with something new, they would take back all their old devices and be able to reuse the materials that are inside. They could even turn to urban mining, where they would extract and refine those precious metals from their own electronic waste. Or work with a company like Umicore, who actually does urban mining today. And as an added bonus, the metals gained from urban mining are actually purer than what comes out of a traditional mine today. So, if Apple would become a circular company, they wouldn't need to worry about product market saturation or losing the iPhone to a VR application. They would be in full control of the price and supply of their raw materials. And they would help reduce that mountain of electronic waste. They could actually focus on radically innovating their service instead of incrementally innovating their products. In a nutshell, Apple would help solve some of those challenges we're facing, and at the same time, limit their potential business risks. I know I haven't touched on all the aspects of such an unreasonable innovation, but it does open up perspective, doesn't it? Reframing what companies and industries actually sell and daring to recognize those challenges we're facing are the first 2 steps to start unreasonable innovation. But even those first 2 steps are already really hard because it requires us to let go of that old logic, to let go of our business reason that we use right now. It's not an easy task. It's almost counterintuitive. And yet, a company like Philips proves that it can be done, no matter how long you've been around in your industry. But that kind of shift in the way we work can only happen if we recognize that incremental innovation is not going to cut it. Let me share one last example. Who here likes almonds? Almond milk, almond crunch bars, sugar-coated almonds? Yes, yes, me too. I see a lot of people like almonds. In fact, we like them so much that the market has quadrupled over the past 10 years. It is now a $5 billion market, with 80% of all the almonds in the world coming from California. And that's where it becomes interesting and a little tricky. Almonds are one of the most water-intensive crops to grow. For one nut, you need about 5 liters of water, which is a lot. But we've all heard about the famous California drought that has been going on for the past 5 years. In 2015, the Californian government implemented these really strict measures to cut back on everybody's water use. And although those measures never applied to the farmers, they did see the risk of that rising water scarcity. So they started investing in measures to cut back their own water usage. For example, some implemented a smart irrigation system. They put all these little boxes all over their orchard, and the boxes would actually monitor in real time the weather and weather forecasts. And based on the data from all those boxes, the system would continuously decide how much water it would release to the trees and when, instead of the old system where it would just release a fixed amount every day the same, no matter what the conditions were. Implementing all of those measures has allowed the industry to save about 30% on their water use. Now, that sounds like innovation. But it's incremental. It's incremental because they are still borrowing from the future. At the end of the day, on a yearly average, the farmers are still using more water than is added by annual rainfall. That means that they are still contributing to the depletion of the Californian water supply. Basically, we are expanding a thirsty market in a place that didn't have the water for it in the first place. And incremental innovation is not going to change that. So where will this all lead? If the water runs out, the industry will collapse. But it will also create a social conflict. Just think about what would happen if citizens don't have access to the water they need. Will they start battling over it, like in the movie Mad Max? Yes, almonds are an interesting industry, and it is a booming one. But when we take a closer look, we can see that it is an industry in desperate need of unreasonable innovation. We've collectively been riding this great wave of progress. Oh, it has been good. It has gained us so much. But we've pushed the wave to its maximum on all levels, and it's not gaining us much more. In fact, on many levels, we're already on the ride down. And although many politicians these days seem to scream, "Don't panic, whatever you do, stay on the wave. I will make it great again." Or not. The truth is that inevitably, waves do crash onto shore. So if we choose to stay on this current wave, we better prepare for the crash. But it is not our only option. We can jump waves. We've done it before. If we dare to recognize the economical, social, and environmental challenges we're facing, and we manage to shift the way we work, like Philips did, we can build a new wave, but we have to embrace unreasonable innovation. We're all builders and creators here tonight, and I'm sure you don't want to stay on that wave until it crashes. What could unreasonable innovation look like in your industry? Let's start that conversation. Thank you.